Welcome to our Crestron Flex 2021 kickoff. First, let me start with a thank you to all of you, our valued customers, dealers, and partners. As the person responsible for leading a great global team of technologists serving the video conferencing and collaboration space, I'd like to thank you on their behalf. The demand has been overwhelming. Our teams are growing at an exponential rate to ensure you get the hands-on design, evaluation, and deployment services that make Crestron unique. Now, with a team of global sellers spread across 99 locations, we are ready to support you wherever and whenever you need it. Regional and global organizations in numerous industries, from government to financial to higher education, and of course healthcare, have come to rely on Crestron's 24/7 approach to innovation and support for all of the places people work. Now, we've got a number of exciting introductions for you today. I've had the fortunate opportunity to meet with hundreds of customers from around the world, and here is what I hear from them about our solutions and our legacy as a company. Firstly, it's always on, always ready. We understand mission-critical systems and what it means to be relied upon. This is more complicated than one size fits all. We know that different spaces have different needs, but we must hide complexity from your employees, and every space must function the same, regardless of location. Now, salespeople love to show flashy videos, but we know it's not just about day one. It's about day 1,825. That's 5 years. That is our warranty, and that is how long our systems are designed to work, and we have a support model that understands corporate rigor. And while I mentioned just how simple our systems are to use, they're even simpler to manage at scale with award-winning cloud tools. We hear it all the time. Our teams aren't growing to support this explosion in video use. That is why we've built the best support tools in the industry. Modeled after laptop manufacturers, we make it easy to support thousands of video conferencing endpoints and all of their supporting technology. Now look, I've heard it. Crestron is complex. It's simply not the case anymore. We've taken 40 years of managing the most complicated technology in the most high-profile spaces, and we've distilled it down to the most comprehensive portfolio of video collaboration tech in the world that uniquely integrates workplace technology, is a joy to use, and won't kill your internal teams with complicated setup and support models. The nature of work and the nature of collaboration has changed drastically.
If you think about what customers have to do now, they have to be creative about where they meet.
Crestron Flex is Crestron's unified communications family of products designed to make people's lives easier.
Crestron Flex video conferencing. Collaborate confidently, anywhere.
Our goal is to deliver full room solutions for every space so that the technology is ubiquitous and visible and consistent for every user.
Why have to learn and use something new just because you move from your office desk to your home desk?
We are expanding our lineup to deliver work from anywhere solutions, things that users can use when they're working from home or a personal office or any space. It has that same consistent look and feel and experience.
Hear every word, see everything clearly. Bring out the best in every meeting. Crestron Flex ensures everyone feels like they are in the room with high-fidelity audio and high-resolution video. Collaborate on any platform. Integrate with any workplace technology.
BYOD stands for Bring Your Own Device. That allows you to bring your laptop, override the native team system, and use whatever platform is running on your device. Flex provides integration, security,
wireless presentation, integration with room control, controlling your lights, your shading, occupancy sensors.
It's meant to exist and be deployed and managed at scale.
We want to make sure that this is a simple install, it's a standard install.
Simple, reliable, flexible. Crestron Flex video conferencing. Collaboration at its best.
Flex gives choice to the end customer. It is truly an integrated solution in your video conferencing spaces.
We're really fortunate to be joined by Nathan Hunter from Spectrum Brands. Now, I have to be honest with you, Nathan, I wasn't sure who Spectrum was when we first started talking. And you know, it's probably this big company that's hiding in plain daylight. And so before we get into the technical details, help our viewers kind of understand what your organization's about, who you serve, and then the breadth of the facilities that you're ultimately responsible for managing.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. So Spectrum Brands is a global company offering a broad portfolio of market-leading, well-known brands, including Kwikset, National Hardware, Remington, Black & Decker, Tetra, Nature's Miracle, Spectracide, Cutter, and Hotshot, just to name a few. As you mentioned, we reach the globe. We've got offices in North America, Latin America, Europe, and Asia Pacific, just to name a few of those locations.
Wow, I look at the breadth. First off, the brands, a lot of them are in my garage, so I never realized it was under kind of this umbrella. And then you think about having those conglomerates, having those subsidiaries, just how broad the reach is. And I look, this is truly a global business that you're managing.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we've got the devices deployed in 30 different locations. We've got a roadmap that reaches even further. It really is a broad scope of what we're trying to reach.
Okay, so help me understand, and I think I've met a lot of companies like this, right? You have your kind of corporate umbrella, then you have a lot of subsidiaries, oftentimes the corporate folks versus the regional folks versus the local folks. There's a lot of complexity there. How do you manage that complexity at scale when you consider all of these different locations? Can you help just give us a sense of the work that you and your team have done to kind of solve that problem?
Yeah, so what we did is we went to each office and we identified different types of rooms, and we came up with 5 different room types. Those room types included an executive office, a huddle room, type 1 or small rooms. Those rooms consisted of 25 by 25 or smaller. A type 2 room, which we consider medium. Those are 25 by 25 or larger. And then we also have a type 3 room, which is our large flex rooms that are more complex, and they basically are combinable rooms that have lots of bells and whistles to them.
And so not to confuse the flex with the flex we're talking about here,
right.
Your flex spaces really are centered around that idea of, if I was a simple, stupid, probably a movable wall somewhere in there, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, so we're dealing with those spaces that maybe we convert one space into 3 or one space into 2. A lot of folks have those in those conference centers.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Nathan, if you don't mind, for our viewers, can we step through a couple of those key solutions and then just talk about what led to the decision to use Crestron in each of them, and what are some of the key factors that are important to your constituents and your customers when you're looking at it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we looked at it and we wanted 3 different things. We wanted ease of use, consistency, and most importantly was the end user experience. We wanted that experience to really be something that the users want to get in and use and basically spread the word and say, this is how we do our rooms in all of our locations. So we identified those rooms, and the type 1 room, we chose the Crestron Flex B series. It's a room type that we basically have a sound bar with the Hudley camera in it. The camera actually zooms to those participants, and it's really simple. One touch join, walk in the room, join your meeting, and you're in the meeting. Those type 2 rooms are very similar, a little bit larger rooms, although we take those and we went to the Crestron Flex C series. Those included in-ceiling speakers, ceiling microphones. We upped the camera to a 12 times PTZ camera. And then we also added air media, so we could take any device we wanted to and actually broadcast that up to those displays. Those larger rooms, those type 3s, those are the ones that your boardrooms, the much larger scale training rooms. Again, we used the Crestron Flex C series. Again, all the same things that were in the type 2, except for much larger scale.
Wow, what I love about that what you went into it with is that consistency of experience, right? But obviously, the way that you're solving it, you're kind of treating Crestron as a kit of parts. I mean, can you speak to, by the way, I think that a lot of folks out there, when they hear kit of parts, maybe it's a little scary or intimidating, right? That oh boy, we're going to have to custom program. Every one of those spaces feels really custom. When we talk about standards, we're talking about repeatability and scale. And so how would you encourage people to think about maybe Crestron different and just the kind of out-of-box functionality? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that out-of-box functionality is what actually made us kind of go toward those Crestron B and C series. The ease of use of just even the install. It's the same install for each one of those devices. The extra bells and whistles, the in-ceiling mics and cameras, we utilize somebody outside to help us with those. But those smaller type 1 rooms, we actually install those all ourselves. Our facility crews install them up. I configure the devices. We had them installed in half a day. It really was not that much work.
Wow, that's tremendous. Thanks for sharing, Nathan. We'll come back in a little bit in the presentation and talk more about that deployment, support, and installation model. But this is incredibly helpful for our viewers to understand just how Spectrum Brands is addressing a truly global footprint in a consistent, managed way that really improves your user's experience. And speaking of users, what's the feedback you've gotten on this over the last year?
Yeah, so we have about 7,000 users global that utilize these systems. And the experience that we've gotten back is I don't get any calls, so it's great. They do have, they walk in the room, it's that simple one-touch join. They really haven't had any problems. And there's a lot of factors that go into that, but the end experience is they like them.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Get back to soon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Nathan, for telling everyone about how Crestron Flex brought Microsoft Teams rooms to Spectrum brands. What I'd like to do now is get a little bit more into the details on each smart space with Crestron Flex and what's new in 2021. Now, starting off with small rooms, that's where soundbars are key. You've got built-in audio and video at the front of the space, but what's new for the Crestron Flex soundbar kit is a 10-inch touch panel fully redesigned for 2021. On this touch panel, it can be completely mounted on the tabletop or mounted to your wall. It'll clean up the tabletop, also great for your unconventional spaces where maybe you don't have a traditional conference table. As we move into more medium-sized spaces, that's where we get into an all-in-one device, and this is where the Mercury Mini makes its introduction into 2021's Crestron Flex line. What's fantastic about the Mercury Mini is it brings collaboration at the center of the table, allows you to meet in circles the same way that we communicate and collaborate around a campfire. You've got your microphones and your speakers, and of course your one-touch join for Teams rooms and Zoom rooms all built into the device that sits on your table. And of course, part of the kit is that same wide-angle 4K people counting camera. The other thing about Mercury Mini that's key is simplicity. You know, when we think about simplicity, we immediately go to sound bars because we keep all of the installation at the front of the room, but you still need to bring a cable to the table. What Mercury Mini does is it makes it just as simple for an all-in-one integrated solution. 2 cables to the table, making deployment simple and easy to make collaboration a lot more seamless for you and your customers. As we get into our larger spaces, that's where we've introduced in 2021 our M50 and M70 kits. Now with this brand new Mercury solution, we've built in a mic pod to expand your audio pickup range in those larger spaces. We've also built in a brand new camera, and this is a 12x zoom PTZ camera that truly does a great job at capturing everybody throughout the space. But most importantly, and of course new to 2021, is that all of these kits come with integrated BYOD. No longer do you need to add extra parts and pieces and cables to allow you to join other meetings than native Teams or native Zoom. Crestron has it built in to all of the kits in Flex. Now this is fantastic, of course, for collaborating in the space. But what makes Crestron unique is we cover everything around the smart space, and scheduling is part of that story. To find the right space for you, scheduling is able to bring it to you. Crestron has partnered with Microsoft, and Microsoft Teams Panel has been announced to be coming out this month exclusively on the Crestron Flex scheduling solution. And they join the Crestron family with a slew of other application partners that allow you to find the collaboration spaces and meet with the people you need to meet with. So we found the spaces, we collaborated in the space, but of course with all of this technology, we have to manage and to monitor it. And that's done through Crestron Xio Cloud. There's 2 big things in Crestron's Azure IoT-based management solution that I'd love for you to take away today. The first one is flexibility. The flexibility to be able to take any Crestron Flex kit and change it between a native Teams room to a Zoom room or back. That gives you ultimate flexibility based upon the platform that you standardized on. And the second thing, which is just as key, is true remote monitoring and management. Remote control comes with all Crestron Flex solutions and scheduling panels to give you the ability to monitor and manage all the technology from anywhere in the world.
In addition to the enhancements Andrew just discussed, Crestron's excited to announce the addition of an Android option to the complete lineup of Crestron Flex room systems. For organizations that prefer Android over a PC-based system, Crestron has you covered. And unlike competitors, you won't have to choose the operating system based on the form factor. We've got you covered. Great audio, great video, great support tools, PC package or Android, all the spaces people work in. That's the consistency of user experience and support experience Crestron is synonymous with.
Building off the tremendous success of Crestron Flex room systems, customers have demanded a more personal collaboration device, one that brings the world-class audio and video that Crestron has become synonymous with. And shipping today is the first of many Crestron Flex phones.
Video conferencing. Once it may have been a convenience. Today, you can't do business without it. That's why it's time for a device designed to do what a laptop can't. Make virtual meetings and collaboration work to their full potential, so you and your business can do the same. The Crestron Flex phone with Microsoft Teams software is that revolutionary device. At the heart of the Crestron Flex phone is an extra-wide, high-resolution touchscreen sized to eliminate clutter and confusion. An intelligent HD camera paired with a microphone array ensures you and your colleagues are seen and heard with cinematic clarity. High-fidelity speakers deliver rich sound, while a single touch delivers unmatched ease to launch, lead, or join a meeting, all seamlessly integrated with the features you need to manage your day. Each and every phone easily and remotely managed from Crestron Xio Cloud. The Crestron Flex phone with Microsoft Teams. Video conferencing has reached its potential.
All right, I'd like to welcome back Nathan from Spectrum Brands. Nathan, we had a chance earlier to talk about, what led to the decision to choose Crestron Flex, how you've designed room standards around it, and we kind of teased out a little bit about that installation and how easy it's become. I want to explore that a little bit more, and I want to make sure viewers understand the tools that you're using to make that come to life. So ultimately, you landed on Xio Cloud, and I think the simplest question to just kind of start off with is why? Why did you choose that tool?
Yeah, there's a couple of factors. One, we could have used some of the built-in tools. We found them to report a little bit differently, but Xio Cloud was pretty accurate. And just the easy use again. That's what we go back to all the time, is that ease of use of what we're doing. And Xio Cloud brought that to us. It was very simple to manage each room type, and also deploy out what we needed to deploy.
So how do you think about Xio Cloud next to the other suite of tools that your team uses to manage these spaces? Because presumably it's not the only tool, but right. What other tools do you have in your toolbox, and how does it complement it?
Yeah, so we use the Microsoft suite for managing some of those rooms, and those are really just a look into those rooms, where Xio Cloud gives me that one step further, where I can get alerting, I can do configuration setups, firmware updates, I can remote log into those devices right from within Xio Cloud.
Well, that's a great segue into how you're using the tool today. So, there's obviously Xio Cloud is a very powerful umbrella with a lot of things that it can do under there. What specifically have you seen it having a big impact in your business?
Well, one, with the pandemic, I'm actually not even in the offices. And when these units are going in, I can configure them remotely without even stepping foot into the building. That's the big piece there. And also, once they're installed, just the alerting factor, so we know ahead of time before somebody's going to walk into those offices and use those meeting rooms that they're up and they're stable and they're running. We can be more proactive instead of walking into a room with an executive and having him, sit there and wait for us to troubleshoot. I mean, as you know, if you have people in a room, that's downtime and money lost.
Well, too, just the anger that starts to boil over, right?
Yeah.
As your point was, no call is a good call for tech support. So, yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And I love that idea of the proactive kind of monitoring, the ability to really see things and have an idea. One of the things you kind of mentioned earlier was that you self-install a lot of your rooms. Now, you certainly rely on your dealers and your partners for, installing a lot of the spaces, but is that a direct relationship to Xio Cloud? And can you maybe just walk through in simple terms what that workflow looks like, so people that haven't used the tool in that way might be able to think differently about it?
Yeah, basically, so like you mentioned, we do use our partners for some of those larger rooms, but those smaller type 1 rooms, we can definitely do the configurations ourselves. Each one of the rooms has a configuration page for the application, and basically I can log into that application from anywhere in the world and set up the configuration so that the units talk to each other, get the right username and password configured to them, and they start working.
Wow. I mean, it really does change the way you think about, and again, especially in those spaces, those smaller spaces that maybe got forgotten in the past. And what I find interesting is as we come back from this pandemic, I think that we're going to see a lot more when people go to the office. There's going to be a lot of group discussions, but you're going to have a lot of remote workers as well. So having video conferencing in a lot more spaces where one or two people can really quickly connect with colleagues, have a meaningful conversation, be seen, heard, be heard, and jump right out of it. It's going to be an important aspect. Okay, one last question on Xio Cloud. So this is a tool that continues to evolve. We're releasing new features all the time. What are you and your team most excited about to start to implement as you in this coming year?
Yeah, so there's really two things. So we got an admin monitoring is what I call it. So for those of us that are actually configuring and pushing out the firmware updates, that's one side of it. And then we also have a remote site support team that are using it for alerting. They can remote right into those devices. And then we're also starting to talk about in-room capabilities as far as tracking the number of people that are in those rooms and getting alerts if we exceed the number of people that are supposed to be in the room. As you know, the pandemic has changed the way we work, and we got to start kind of thinking about how we work every day and monitor and make sure that we're not going to exceed some of those safety standards that are put out for us.
Yeah, the people counting has been a tremendous function that works right back through the cameras and the Flex systems you already own. And just so you know, Nathan, we're going to be announcing some big stuff here in a couple months. We're actually going to be able to have all of the technology in the room report back up through Xio Cloud, including displays and every piece of technology you have in there. So I think it's going to really support that model as it continues to expand over time. Thanks again for your time, Nathan. It's great to catch up and appreciate all your support and your continued support of Crestron.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Nick.
That was a lot of great information, and 2021 really is a massive step forward in video conferencing across all the spaces people work. What are your top takeaways for folks that are trying to digest a ton of information?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. And obviously, thank you, everyone, for joining this. And we kept it nice and short on purpose. I know we're probably all wanting to get away from video conferencing meetings as much as possible, since it's really constantly filling up our schedule. But two things, Nick, that actually came up kind of under the radar, but I really want to highlight is Android operating systems offered on all Flex kits coming this summer, in addition to the Windows engines. That type of flexibility, huge for InfoSec and security organizations. The second one, also kind of under the radar, but enormous announcement, is Flex phones. Flex phones audio shipping today and video in a couple months. I mean, enormous personal collaboration devices now being brought to the workspace. But don't forget, we also, of course, had the general 2021 announcements, some reminders and some brand new, with a full suite of Teams rooms and Zoom rooms, bringing integrated, bring your own device technology to every single conference space. Xio Cloud enhancements, right? Remember, even Nathan was kind of talking about it with his remote control. And as you mentioned, the ability to manage and monitor beyond just the Crestron devices in the space. And the last one is just, in general, continued innovation. I think that's a big one that people sometimes forget, but what we've talked about today is just the tip of the spear, right? We're going to continue to innovate on center of table, front of room, soundbar, and Mercury solutions, and of course, our integrated spaces as the year goes on.
Absolutely. A lot of exciting developments and continued momentum that is really fueling customers and organizations. I'd like to invite Nathan to join us here live, as well as Rami Najjar, our director of the product team. And what I want to do, and the reason why I've been looking down at my laptop here, is just trying to summarize and capture a lot of these great questions that have been asked. Nathan, thanks again for all your support and joining us. I'm going to start with you. One question just straight away. Somebody asked, can you help them understand how you architected that divisible room solution? And so what are some of the key considerations and what approach did you take?
Yeah, so we really started looking at, again, we go back to that ease of use. We were challenged by our CEO and CIO to make it as simple as possible so they could walk in the room and just join. And when we started looking at these rooms, we really had to identify what that large scale room looked like and what those smaller scale rooms look like. And that's really kind of how we started the discussions around the architecture of it.
Fantastic. Question for you, Rami, just real simple one. Folks that want to add that BYOD, right? Andrew talked about the ability to not only have your native experience, but also a BYOD experience. And that's a new advancement that you and the team have announced. How do folks go and add that functionality to their existing systems?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nick. And I saw a few questions in the the chat as well around how do I use Flex for a WebEx meeting or anything else. All of our advanced Flex systems have built-in support for you to not only run that native Teams or Zoom experience that you have within your enterprise, but also be able to bring your laptop into that room and run any UC platform off of it, right? Whether it's BlueJeans, WebEx, or anything else. From a user perspective, it's really straightforward. All you have to do is connect one cable. You connect the USB cable to your laptop, and all of a sudden you're taking advantage of that phenomenal mic, speaker, and camera capabilities of that room for that meeting that you're running on your laptop. You want to share content? It's easy. You can do that by also connecting to your laptop. And when you're done, you simply disconnect that cable from your laptop and you're back to that native experience for the next person who walks into that space. Very seamless. And again, a system that's designed from the ground up to deliver that experience without the need for upgrades or retrofits down the road.
Yeah, to add to that too, because I mean, we seem to hark on it, but it is very important. It's the fact that it's almost peace of mind. You get BYOD integrated to these systems, not just a soundbar solution, not just a Mercury solution, and not just your custom integrated spaces. All of them come with the integrated BYOD available to you, whether that's day one or day 100. You have BYOD capable. As we all know, our platforms continue to change as the environment continues to change on what we want to meet over.
I think that's a great response to it. One of the things kind of building up that longevity, can we give a quick summary, Andrew, of kind of the warranty and how that ties to the support and the long, some folks were asking 5 years, almost surprised by that. So you can touch on that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. And this is somewhat new, actually, to 2021, which we're continuing innovating, not just on products, but in our support and processes as well, is Crestron still offers, of course, the industry best included warranty and support on all systems. But what we've added on top of all of this is the ability now for you to get guaranteed and enhanced support and warranty on all Flex solutions by actually entering into a Flex Care plan with Crestron. We have added on to what comes standard with Flex for additional years of warranty, for around the clock, true 24/7, follow the sun support at all times, advanced replacement on gear, whether if something goes down or something was out of the box incorrect, you can get advanced replacements on all of our systems. And for select partners, we even offer extended warranties on the engines itself, which is extremely unique in this industry, is that the compute that is powering your Teams and Zoom meeting, Crestron is backing for several years. So I highly recommend that if you guys have any more questions about this Flex Care plan, this added support to all of our Flex systems, is you go to the crestron.com/flex website, and you can head right over to our Flex Care support plan information right there on the homepage.
Awesome. Both Rami and Nathan, I think, would have great perspective on this. One of the questions that folks are just kind of asking in general is around the connection types, right? They're thinking about the wires, the wiring types between the systems, the head unit, the table, the wall. Rami, maybe in general, can you just give a little bit of an overview of the philosophy and approach your team took when designing the system and how we try to make it simple? And then Nathan, I'd love for you to add some color into it about the real world of actually unboxing the damn thing and having to figure out how to put it in. So we'll let Rami start, then you can contradict anything he says wrong.
Sure, Nick. So a couple of things that really are unique and we believe are critical to that ease of install with our Flex systems. The first is that all of our touchscreen controllers that sit on the table are network devices, right? So you don't have to worry about the long extensions of cables to the front of the room. The second part is that all of our advanced kits come with a built-in HDBaseT transmitter, so you can have that standard Cat5 cable going from the table to the front of the room. This is something that most customers already have. And again, it avoids the need of complexity of thinking about extenders or having to use custom cables. We're using standard technology that customers can easily have access to allow them to place these equipment wherever they want in any space.
Fantastic. And Nathan, I guess from your experience, I mean, how does that play out in the field? What did it look like? What did your teams respond? I mean, how have you seen it? And then also, if you have any views on how that, other technologies you've installed in the past.
Yeah, so one of the things that came in my realm is my CIO was pretty adamant. I don't want to see any wires. So even though we all know there's wires behind the walls and stuff, when you walk into our rooms, they're extremely clean. I don't have any wires coming from the table to the front of the room. Everything that we do is right from the touch panel. We've got it built into the wall. That display then goes back to our closet where we're hooked up to the network. We tie that back to the engine. It's really minimal work, really is.
Fantastic. And by the way, Nathan just touched on a point that was asked in the questions, which is a wall mount option, right? So we show a lot of the tabletop functionality controllers. I know Andrew briefly made mention, but you've elected to put that into the wall, keep that surface completely clean, and utilize it that way, correct?
That's absolutely correct. We didn't want anything on the tables. We figured we got enough stuff with the laptops and stuff that we bring in. Let's get that up on the wall. Somebody walks in the room, hit that one touch joint, and we're good to go.
So another kind of question that builds out this idea of the installation and really setup is somebody was asking specifically about the MM30-T and network security and a basic overview of how our devices work on the network. Again, same 1-2 punch. Rami, maybe what you've done, and then Nathan, your experience. But as we think about network security and bringing it to the actual network.
One thing that we recently launched in early of last year to all of our Teams-enabled room systems, Nick, is the ability for the customer to connect or pair that touchscreen controller that's sitting on the table directly to the compute that's sitting behind the TV with a Cat5 cable between the two, allowing them to completely bypass the need to reverse that traffic at all over their network. And this is really a great way to address any concerns that they have around ensuring QoS on their network, but also potentially any security concerns that they have by having the traffic between those two traverse a corporate network. So customers have the flexibility to deploy either over their LAN or by having a direct point-to-point connection between those two devices.
And so, Nathan, in your experience, how do our devices play with your network folks? I think that can always be a cringeworthy conversation for anybody when you start bringing in that team. But how did it go for you? What's your experience there? And also with Xio Cloud, because that's another element. As soon as you say cloud, the InfoSec people's ears all pop up, right?
Yeah. So everybody loves security, right? They do a great job for everybody. We did run into a little bit of a problem in the beginning when we started talking with security. They were very concerned with the accounts being wide open in the rooms. So what we ended up doing is we actually take the accounts and we lock them down to the specific device that's in the room, so that if somebody were to get that password, that username for that particular user, they could not take it anywhere else. They could only log into that one particular engine or that one particular panel and get access to our network. So we kind of protected ourselves that way, along with all the information that Rami just shared as well.
Okay, fantastic. So let's move a little bit different direction here. And Rami, you might not know the answer to this. It's an Xio Cloud question, but one of the customers or one of the folks here was asking about ServiceNow integration. I know that's something that's coming up soon in a release. Can you speak to a little bit of that?
Indeed, Nick, we understand the importance of not only providing customers with the insight that they need around their system, but also making sure that that information ties into broader workflows that they have with their enterprise, right? So it's great if I get an alert, I know something went wrong. It's even better if that alert automatically opens a ticket with my help desk, right? In this case, the ServiceNow type of integration. That's something that is coming soon, and we believe it really allows our system to fit into that broader workflow that the customer has within their enterprise.
Great. So let's just shift gears a little bit over to the phones. There's a whole host of questions about the operating system, the experience. Maybe Andrew, just give a top line summary again about how it functions and that obviously that Teams experience, just to level set everybody as to what it does.
Sure. In fact, I actually use the phone pretty much every day when I'm in the office. I'm not in today, of course, because we're getting hit with another snowstorm. But using the phone as a user, right, not as a Crestron salesperson, but a true user, has changed the way that I actually even look a little bit at collaboration. A lot of the times when I think of a phone, I think, well, why do I need a phone? I use my laptop to join Teams meetings, or I use my desktop to join my Zoom meetings. But what's changed in my mindset is the ability to have something dedicated to Teams, showing my calendar at all times. Doesn't matter if I have Excel spreadsheets or Outlook up at that time covering my Teams instance. My Teams phone is there telling me exactly when my meetings are, and when I need to join them, it is an easy one-touch join. And even just from almost even an emotional or mental standpoint, it's kind of nice to pick up a phone once in a while. And we forgot what that felt like. But going into audio calls is not a bad thing. And I think we talk a lot about video fatigue in the new world, right? We can use whatever terms we want that we live in today. But having an audio call is absolutely still effective. And so our new Flex Teams phones give you the best-in-class audio, the best-in-class touch control and capability, but most of all, it's a Crestron device, meaning it's managed and monitored and supported all by the amazing Crestron stuff that you're familiar with for all of our room systems. And Rami, I'll let you talk a little bit maybe about the technical specifics.
Yeah, so the device indeed runs in an Android operating system, but what's really critical was what Andrew said, this is a native Teams experience, and it really allows you to take that collaboration that we live constantly throughout our day and move it into a purpose-built device that's always available, that allows you to focus your desktop, your computer on what you're doing best, right? Whether it's simple things around having dedicated call control for mute volume, right? You don't have to try to find that mute button or turn the camera on your application. To the phenomenal audio capabilities of it. I'm wearing a headset right now, right? If I had that device working from home, that experience again becomes a lot less friction in that experience that I have conducting my day-to-day work. So extremely powerful. I saw a few questions in the chat around the capabilities of the device. The camera that comes with the device is a built-in camera, whether it's on the 8-inch or 10-inch model. This is not a separate add-on camera. The device supports Wi-Fi connectivity, so if you're deploying it in something like a home office, you just connect it over Wi-Fi. You don't even have to have a network connection. Phenomenal audio, tremendous flexibility. In addition to the speaker and handset capabilities, you can also pair a Bluetooth headset or a USB headset. So again, it really fits into how a user wants to use that device in whatever environment they're in, whether it's a hot desk, personal office, or home office environment.
And one thing just to note for folks that are looking at the website today for information on the phones, we do have the first audio device out, the 8-inch, and we'll expand that line to include the video options as well as 10-inch display options here in the coming months. So those product pages will continue to come online where you can find specifications and information about the individual devices. Let's go back to you, Nathan. This is a tricky one to walk, and I want you to walk it carefully. But there was somebody asked the question, like, what were the cost impacts? You talked about kind of self-deploying some of those smaller spaces as opposed to, and really relying on your integrators and dealers for the other spots. Just in general, like how did that look, and how does that maybe meet with other experiences you've had with technology in the workplace?
Yeah, we were fortunate. We had a pretty good budget that was given to us from our executive teams to do a lot of our deployments during this pandemic while everybody is out of the offices, which made it really convenient for a lot of different people. For us to do it ourselves on those smaller rooms, it really was a pretty good price difference because now we're only buying the equipment and the support versus having an installer come in and do a lot of the work for us. And I do got to be a little careful here. My installer is probably on the line listening today, and they did a great job. But to have them fly out, have a hotel room, do the installs for a week, that adds up. So as much as we can do ourselves, we want to do ourselves. But at that same point, we are relying on that vendor to do a lot of the work for us because they can do more things than we can ever dream of doing.
Yeah, I always think about it as balancing where the labor gets applied, right? Putting the dollars where their skill set and their expertise can really be applied, but also knowing that you have internal teams that can handle some of these smaller, lighter touches, and that you feel confident doing it. But it is always a tricky line to walk. Straightforward question, Rami, can you give an idea of the Android release date, the breadth of the devices that it'll support, and again, I think folks are just wanting to make sure they understand that choice.
Sure. So today, all of our room systems, for whether it's the small, medium, large, or custom spaces, are available based on a Windows platform. Every single one of those spaces will be supported with an Android-based room system as well later this year. So it becomes a customer choice, whether you want to adopt Windows as a platform within your enterprise or Android, and we will deliver that experience from anything to the small huddle room space to medium, large, even to the custom spaces. That full breadth of lineup will be supported also on Android root systems later this year.
And just to add one thing to that, Nick, too, Rami said something that's key, and you said something during the launch just a couple of minutes ago. And I'm sure people are thinking this, well, why didn't Crestron show anything around Android? Well, we actually did that purposefully because there's nothing actually to show, and that's a good thing, right? The room systems remain. You don't need to change or choose or pigeon your decisions based upon the operating system that you or your InfoSec teams have required. You get to use the same amazing Crestron Flex solutions today and into the future as we continue to innovate, and you choose your operating system. There's nothing to show, and that was done on purpose. And I love that. I think that creates the flexibility that we always talk about, but truly customer choice. I want to have the choice. I don't want to have to be chosen for me because of my operating system requirements.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't underestimate too, conflating the operating system with the hardware, it just limits things. So one of the things that continues to come up, I think in general, there's a lot of confusion about these native experiences, BYOD. Obviously there's the announcement between Teams, Zoom, and Cisco. Andrew, you probably get this question more than anybody. Can you break down these kind of tiers in a simple way that people can kind of compartmentalize in their brain what we're talking about? Because questions in here about joining with Blue Jeans and how do I switch between X, Y, and Z, and can I connect here, connect there, and can you just help everybody understand how our fundamental approach works?
Sure. So the vast majority of enterprise standardization for native systems is very clearly Microsoft Teams or Zoom. It's what we see as the vast majority for higher education, financial, healthcare, you name the vertical. The standard platform for internal communications is one of those two. That's where Crestron put their focus on, where we ship native Zoom and native Teams meetings. However, it's also that 80-20 rule. Well, while yes, 80% of my meetings may very well be internal on a native platform, one touch to join for Teams or Zoom, what happens when I need to meet with a vendor, need to meet with a customer, or need to meet with an outside partner over that different platform that they've standardized on? That's the flexibility of integrated BYOD, is that you don't need to choose the room based upon the platform you need to meet over. You go to any room, any Crestron Flex system, and that's the new thing this year, right? It's not just your Mercury systems. It can be your soundbar or your custom integrated Flex systems now as well. And I plug in my computer, I run my meeting on my laptop, and it actually now takes over the audio and video in the space based upon the meeting platform that I'm using on my laptop. I unplug, and I can immediately go back to a native room system.
So let me just give you a real life example. Right now, I am using an MX50 Teams system, and I've got it plugged into my laptop so that I'm hosting the GoToWebinar and looking at the questions and answers. This gives me the ability, no longer do I have to worry about what room I go to based on what meeting I'm trying to have, in really simple terms, right, Andrew?
Exactly, that's spot on.
So if you want to convert between, we talk about the ability though also to switch our operating system from Zoom to Teams. So like, how does that work? So you've got a default system that you're running. You have the flexibility of bringing in your own device to connect in any of the different form factors. But 9 months from now, Nathan's CIO comes in and says, "We're love Teams, but we're going Zoom, or we're going the next big thing." How does that work?
I view that as investment protection. People will use terms of future-proof, but truly it's investment protection because you're investing in collaboration hardware. Right, you're going to be fitting out many rooms, tens, hundreds, potentially even thousands enterprise-wide of hardware to be able to provide audio and video collaboration. And you're going to start, let's just say, for example, on Teams. A year down the road, either a new CIO comes in or you've simply decided that your employees work better on Zoom. With Crestron, you don't need to touch the hardware. That's the key difference, is you can go to Xio Cloud, as Nathan talked about, from anywhere in the world, and swap those native Teams room systems to a native Zoom room system, or a native Zoom room to a native Teams room system. And it's truly enterprise-wide, platform flexible that allows you to keep the investment in the hardware. That's extremely, extremely unique in this industry.
Anything to add on that, Nathan?
Yeah, the only thing I'll add there is, and I don't want to say this too loud because I don't want anybody to get ideas on Spectrum, but to make that switch is pretty quick. Really, you've got a reboot of a system. into that new Zoom system, and within a matter of minutes, you're back up on Zoom. It's really pretty easy.
Right. So a lot of folks are asking questions about like flipping between Zoom and Teams on the fly. That's not a possibility today. What you want to do is determine what your organization's default native experience is, either Zoom or Teams. You configure that, then leverage those that BYOD capability to support anything that falls outside that standard, right? And in simple terms, that really gets you to where you want to be today.
Yeah, I'll add to that too, Nick. There's actually settings inside those Flex systems now that allow you to have those Zoom meetings along with your native Teams app. So we have customers that are actually requiring us to have Zoom meetings. We can schedule our meeting room with their Zoom links, and we can have a Zoom meeting right inside of our Flex system in our Teams native room. It's fairly simple.
Yeah,
So,
that's key, right? Because that speaks to the native capability, the certified capability of the Flex systems, because we're not creating something custom. When Microsoft comes out with direct guest join for Zoom meetings or for WebEx meetings, that comes into the Flex systems as well.
Okay, so let's go a little different direction here, Rami. Roadmap for dual room cameras. So having multiple cameras in the space. Can you talk through where we're at with that?
Yeah, Nick, we definitely have something in our roadmap. I'm not sure something we're ready to talk about today. But our goal is to elevate that experience in room for those people that are remote, which we expect every meeting moving forward will have a remote participant. And if you think about it, the four of us here being remote today have a phenomenal experience because we can see each other individually, and that's a great experience. I can see your face, Andrew's face, and Nathan's face. If you guys were all in one room, then you're going to see a lot of smaller faces for those people. There's definitely technology today that enables that experience to be better with things like ingenious framing, intelligent framing, smart frame, right side, whatever you want to call it. But we truly believe there's room to bring that experience to a whole new level where we can truly take that video experience to a true socially connected collaboration experience between people. And that's something that we're working on, and stay tuned. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming down the road on that.
And for those of you that are just very pragmatically thinking about how do I implement 2 cameras with a Teams room system, that's something that's really it's on Microsoft's roadmap. As they add that functionality, it'll automatically come updated to our systems as well. So just sit tight on that. We're expecting that in the near future here. Okay, another question for Spectrum here. 2 questions for you, Nathan. One was, how does your integrator support your international locations? Presuming they're a local organization there. So let's start with that first question.
Yeah, so that's one that's actually coming up right now. So we're looking to expand out in El Salvador and Guatemala, and they actually have partners and can work with the teams over there. Customs as well, you got to work with. So they're actually working with us to get these installs out in other countries.
Great. And then as far as can you describe the size of your support staff? I think people just want to get a sense of how many people does it take to actually cover the breadth that you're talking about?
Yeah, so for us right now, we have a remote site support that's about 20 people. We have a help desk that is monitored 24/7. Those people aren't really supporting the rooms, however. They're monitoring the things coming in. They'll pass it off to us that can actually work on the rooms. And that support team is less than 10 people. It really is not that many people that support it. We've got a few that are on the call today, and if they were on, they would say that they really don't get any calls. So it's a very small amount of people that are supporting these rooms.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nathan. All right, so some questions about the custom spaces, right? We talked about medium and large. I think one of the things that makes our architecture unique is that the MX50 and MX70 really can cover space up to 20-some people. But when we want to get into those custom spaces, when we want to have in-ceiling microphones, when we start to go that direction, Rami, can you talk a little bit about the integration kit, talk about some of the boundaries, what's capable, what's possible? I have folks asking about, can I have more than 2 displays? Can I, help paint the imagery of just the boundaries that can happen with this?
Nick, I mean, that's exactly why we have our C-Series kits, right? It's to give customers flexibility to use the peripherals that suit them best, whether they are in-ceiling mics, speakers, or any other form of audio system. Obviously, what we tell customers is you would want to use an audio solution that's certified for the platform that you're running, because that we can then deliver the best experience and ensure interoperability. But that's something that's really unique. Our C-Series are really integrated with so many different solutions out there, from DSPs to audio solutions, cameras. And that level of flexibility is why that C-Series exists, because we don't want customers to be confined to design their space based on what our room solution gives them. We wanted them to have the flexibility to know that they can buy a certified solution that works with all of the certified peripherals in market for that platform that they chose.
Let's talk about controlling more than you see. So the infamous page flip, right? And I think this is a core competency and capability that Crestron uniquely has. Is, you know, we're not just a UC company, right? We're a workplace technology company. We can you know, kind of create automation and functions around that. You know, I think, Andrew, maybe what are the most common areas where customers really get excited about that consistency of experience, and just, you know, what that means for people?
Well, we used to just see it in those custom integrated spaces, but I think that's what's changed a lot, is people are realizing that my smart space, for not just Crestron, but for everybody, right? They're looking at smart spaces do extend beyond just the auditorium. And now huddle rooms and conference rooms, they require a higher level of integration, not complexity, but integration. That's key. Sometimes those two get confused, but integration is different than complexity. And in fact, the way that Crestron does it with that flip page enhances the simplicity of the space, because I don't have multiple screens. I don't have multiple pages to be able to control the lighting and the shading and the environment, or even the video distribution in the space. It's the same screen that I use to join my Teams meeting. So that does add a level of simplicity to all the rooms. And as we're continuing to do more and more video meetings, the lighting and the environment, of course, affects my meetings. So I'm going to need to control those different aspects within my space. And so as you saw, kind of as I went through that walkthrough, you know, use every single one of those solutions on the touch panel itself gives you that flip page to adjust the lighting, adjust the shading, or even change the video input that you have in that space.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the beauties of that experience is that the room's responding to the person. And too often, you know, the old paradigm was, as we walked into the space, we had to kind of like break down the technology and figure out how it all worked. You know, I think that's why people would kind of avoid necessarily being the one in charge of running the meeting, right? They didn't want to look foolish. With the one touch, Nathan's getting a good chuckle out of this. With the one touch to join, with that more advanced functionality, a lot of that stuff also can just be programmed in the background, all you know, macros type concepts. So video conference starts, lighting, everything adjusts. Nobody has to touch anything. It's all just transparent and kind of hidden from the customer. Nathan, you got some fun stories to add to that one?
Yeah, I just chuckle because I remember my first visit out to Crestron out in California. My director was with me, and we got to see all the bells and whistles with the lighting and the shades, and he was all in. But yeah, sometimes it's not realistic in some of the spaces you have, but it's really good in some other spaces. But I chuckle because that brought back the memories of him wanting everything.
And I think that's really important to always remind everybody that's participating. What we're trying to do is show a spectrum, right? We're trying to paint a picture of the boundaries of what's possible, not to say that every space gets exactly the same usage. We do want the interface and experience to be the same every single time, but some rooms do need shade, some maybe can't absorb that extra cost. We give you that option, that flexibility, and that architecture that can scale up and scale down, and come back all over under Xio Cloud. Okay, I want to be respectful of time here. One last question. Rami, can you give a quick breakdown of Android versus PC functionality as you look towards that roadmap? You know, the experience, is there going to be experiential differences? There's some questions in here about single display versus dual display, you know, the ability to will it be full function? So if you can give an overview of that, and we'll let that be the last question.
Sure, Nick. At a high level, we will deliver the full functionality that's supported by that UC platform, whether it's Teams and Zoom on those platforms. And if you look at it from what Zoom offers today, you really have a lot of feature parity between an Android-based room system and a Windows-based room system. And if you look at the Teams platforms today, that feature parity is very quickly getting there. Our goal is to provide this purely as choice and not restrict customers on additional features that come with one for the other. The examples that you said, of course, we will support dual display front of room displays on our Android systems, similar to what we do. We're also going to bring that BYOD functionality that we have today on our Windows-based room systems also to all of our Android-based room systems as well. We're going to have the same level of camera intelligence and capabilities on all of our Android-based room systems, similar to what we have on our Windows-based room systems. Our goal is to deliver feature parity, that consistent experience, so that to the user, it's really transparent. They don't know, they shouldn't care whether the operating system behind the scene is Windows or Android.
Well, I love that. And one of the things that you're saying there, which I'm passionate about, is hiding the complexity, right? Hide the complexity from the end user. It's like plumbing for work, right? I want the water to be hot or be cold. I don't want to think about how it got there. And your team's doing an excellent job delivering that. And I think the vision's a powerful one. I'll just leave everybody with this. Andrew Gross has a team around the world of UC experts, video conferencing experts, workplace technology experts. They're there to help your organization. Just as Nathan visited one of our sites, and Nathan, I hope that we've been supportive throughout the journey, and that Crestron folks work alongside your integrators, your dealers, your consultants, whoever shows up to the party. We're there to be a trusted member of it and help. Lean on us, lean on Andrew's team, follow up in this after this webinar, and ask for, if you want to see the Experience Center behind me virtually, the team's doing virtual tours. You can come see the technology, ask the questions. Folks are happy to hop on calls, review InfoSec, review whatever it is you need to make sure that you're moving forward. We know there's going to be a radical change in this year with video conferencing. We know that as people return from work, more so than ever, we're going to need video conferencing in all the places people work. I hope that you see Crestron as a trusted partner. Thank you again for joining today. Andrew, Rami, Nathan, thank you so much. Let's hopefully survive this blizzard, and I'll try to get home safe here. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.